happen. This is going to be a bit of a deeper discussion, which I've been looking forward to because a lot of, and I was thinking about on the other podcast I have, there are so many shows, podcasts, and other discussions online that are all about, hey, this happened today, hey, this happened yesterday, hey, this happened just now. And, it's important to talk, for example, about Trump being shot at. It's important to talk about Harris being the nominee and our thoughts on that, our thoughts about the future debates, things like that. But it's also important sometimes to have a different discussion, to have a discussion that's kind of timeless, a discussion more philosophical and more about political theory, which I think is important. I think it's important every so often, and this sometimes sneaks into the peripheries of covering current world events, of identity, of being a conservative, and messaging, and political theory, political tactics. Because sometimes what I'm saying is it can be so day to day that you're not really thinking about the movement itself and what's driving it.
Right.
And it's important. I mean, a lot of people, especially, this was the cool thing back in 2016, 2018, 2020, was people started rejecting labels and saying, well, I don't really like to call myself this, or this. And it's like, okay, sort of understand that. I do think labels are very important. I think that what I try to do whenever someone uses a label, I say that's helpful, but break it down for me a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, because there's people that try to reject all labels, it's like, I don't think that's helpful. I think that whenever we talk about a liberal or about a Democrat or Republican or conservative, okay, well, let's break that down a little bit. Let's not do away with it. That would be throwing out too much. So, with all that being said, what has come up and over the course of time is we've come on here before to you guys talking about a couple of things. I think probably the way it first came up was the war in Ukraine, talked a little bit about Putin, and then talked a little bit about a Russian philosopher, Alexander Dugin.
Yeah.
And so we want to talk about him a little bit to you guys and have a discussion. And then we want to then deviate slightly and talk about broader political theory. And so I think the best way to begin this is to just talk about who he is. Some of you are probably like, well, who? So Alexander Dugin is a philosopher in Russia, born and raised in Russia. He has been, if you want to see some of his stuff, he's been on the Nexus Institute and talked to Anthony Blinken, who's now in the Biden administration. That's kind of interesting. I did a double take when I saw that. I thought, oh, that guy's in government right now. He's in the Biden administration. He's also had discussions with other people. His perhaps best well-known book is the
Russian
Foundations... Russian Collusion. His perhaps best-known book is the Foundations of Geopolitics. He's also got a book called The Fourth Political Theory. And I have read The Fourth Political Theory in its entirety. And in the course of time, we've come on here and talked a little bit about him. The most recent interview that I've seen with him that got some attention was while Tucker was in Russia talking to Putin, he also had the opportunity to speak to Alexander Dugin.
Right.
And so this actually kind of naturally was a discussion that started to happen between you and I, and we had the thought, why not do it in front of a camera? Why not only talk about this privately, but why not also talk about this in front of other people and have a discussion about this political philosopher? And I really think it'd be a good jumping off point to then talk about broader political theory.
Yeah, for sure.
So real quickly, I think that the best way to begin with this, I've been trying to figure out, well, where do we begin? I would say the first thing I would say about Alexander Dugin is first just sketch out in its entirety your views on him.
Yeah.
What you think of him, problems with his philosophy. If you see anything that's a cogent criticism he has of the West, please sketch out any pros that you see, but also be clear about the cons. And I'll talk about what I see, and then we can kind of break down a little bit of what the other is saying.
Yeah. So Dugin, the problems that I have with him, or like how I view him, is okay. Yeah, he's an advisor, obviously, but no, he does see the issues of, I'll say the West. Yeah, I mean, because that's a big thing of his. He sees the issues of the West as far as the LGBT squad going way too far. He sees the issues as far as the DEI stuff. He sees pretty much all those identity things. He sees this identity stuff has gone way too far. We've veered the West so not just America in this case, has veered way too far from traditionalism, small t, traditionalism, and he sees that as a problem. The thing that I believe where he is wrong is the traditionalism that he seeks is more of a government run traditionalism versus traditionalism in the sense of, freedom. Essentially, traditionalism, government stays out of it, but the people are the ones that maintain the traditionalism instead of the government comes in and establishes traditionalism, and the reason and that's how you get tradition back. I say the people are the ones that have to bring the tradition back, not it's the government's job to bring the tradition back, because I believe that can lead to potential issues. When you get government involved in things like that, you can lead to government-run churches, this, that, and the other. So yeah, those are kind of my main views on him from what I've read. I haven't read his books or anything. However, I have done some research on him and everything like that. Also listened to Glenn Beck is a guy that actually turned me on to him as far as interest in him. So kind of have listened to some opinions of Glenn Beck and everything. So yeah, those are kind of the concerns that I have about him and everything. So yeah.